What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Real Estate Virgins podcast, where we are here to elevate your business 2024 and beyond. We are not agents just talking that talk. We are walking the walk, baby. Here to take your production, whether you're a new agent or experienced, to new heights by sharing tactical tips and tricks, interviewing top producing agents from all around. We are so excited to have you if you're a returning listener. Thank you so much for coming back. My name is Jordan Brown, at Jordan Sells ATX on Instagram, here with my co-host, John Michael Perez.
What's up, guys? Super excited about this episode. It's been a couple weeks. We took a couple weeks off.
Busy, man.
Yeah, we've been busy for sure.
We got a lot of stuff going on. Like,
Yeah.
not to sound like that guy, but we've just had a lot going on. So,
As Suman says, we've been productive.
Yes.
And not busy.
not busy, productive. You're correct. There is a difference.
You can find me at John Michael Perez on Instagram, Facebook as well. And super excited for this episode.
Yeah, man. So before we dive into real estate stuff, it's been a little while. Like, anything exciting going on in your life? Anything like that you want to share?
My birthday's coming up. About to turn 33.
Jeez.
I know.
Whoa. I'll be there in September, bro.
I know. I saw this meme though today, and it had this owl and a person on a bench, and it was like, how do I become more happy? And it pretty much said like it's because you're thinking too much in the future, and not in the present. And that's one thing that I'm really challenging myself to do, is be more in the present.
That's such a hard thing to do. Like, we're just so distracted.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy that we're busier now than we probably at any point in history ever have been?
Yeah.
Our minds are always in this war against, attention, like our phones. Like, I struggle so hard. I've literally just set a limit on my phone the other day on the iPhone settings to cut off social media after a certain number of hours usage, because if not, like, it sucks, but like, I'll blink and boom, an hour has gone by and it was the most unproductive hour of my life, and I have nothing to show for it. And I know Rogan talks about it all the time. Like, you almost feel worse after you get off of the doom scroll than before you started, because you're like, well, that was pointless.
Yeah.
And now I just lost an hour. So, I mean, I'm totally with you. Being present was one of my goals for the start of the new year. I don't know that I've necessarily been successful with it, and it's always like a work that's in motion. So I don't know if I'll ever truly get there, but taking little steps. Like I said, the limit on the social apps is actually really big for me. So 33, man, that's insane. When I met you, you were what, 17, 16?
Yeah, 16, 17.
That's insane,
yeah.
dude.
Yeah. We've been knowing each other for a long time.
We're about to have known each other for longer than we haven't known each other.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. I just shared a Chick-fil-A video that we did like 7 years ago. Or
2017, like that 7 years ago, like went by like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. But one thing, a lot of, especially during this time frame, a lot of agents in particular, or people in general, actually, can get distracted because it's an election year.
Oh, man.
And the amount of TikToks, Reels, and just content that is taking our attention because of the election, and especially this year, man, this has been.
It's like it gets heightened.
Yeah.
And the closer we get to November, the worse it gets.
It's crazy.
Honestly, like, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I feel like up until this point, things have actually on my feed been relatively calm. And then it was like, oh, here's that little nugget that everyone needs to. It's not even little. Like, we haven't done an episode since two major things have happened, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. The assassination, which is crazy. And then assassination attempt. And then Biden dropping out yesterday.
Yeah.
And so a lot of stuff is going on. A lot of people are, engulfed in the content and the doom scrolling.
Well, it just absolutely just sparked the conversations. Yeah. It's insane how quiet 2 weeks ago my feed was.
Yeah.
And now it's like everyone all at once back to having like a political science degree online and having an opinion.
Yeah.
And which is good. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have an opinion. It's just, I was really enjoying, I was like, man, this is the calmest election year I've seen so far as far as social media goes. And at least in my friends group. And now those people that I was like, oh, like they're oddly quiet. Boom, 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 boom. Like 7 political posts in a row. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like I hate that's going to get worse the closer that
What are
we
your
get.
thoughts on, and I probably should have wrote this down in our notes, but what are your thoughts on real estate agents talking about politics?
I have mixed feelings about it because let me put it this way. I don't think that you should necessarily like guard your opinions from people. I don't think that it's our jobs to necessarily be everyone's cup of tea. And I think that whatever you believe, you're allowed to believe. And
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, we all want to get to the same place. Everyone wants what's best for America. Everyone wants what's best for their neighbors. And we just have differing opinions on how we're going to get there. And so what gets lost in the tribalism and the picking sides and making it so us versus them is that everyone, like on a very deep level, mostly cares about each other. Like it's not these loud extreme left, extreme rights where it's either us or die, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't think it's like that for 90+% of America. And everyone's just like, hey, like I just want a strong leader that has a clear direction on how they're going to help us. And us can mean all kinds of things. There's people in the lower middle class, there's people in lower class, upper middle class, upper class, like wherever you lie, you just want to know how that politician's going to take care of you.
Yeah.
And I think people also, especially on social media, they respect when you are firm in your convictions and in your opinions.
Yeah.
People almost don't like I'm going to be safe and not say something.
Yeah.
It's almost like they want you like that's why Trump, one thing he does, he's unapologetically himself.
Yeah.
Whatever his opinions are, whatever he believes, like people rally behind him because he so does not care what backlash is going to happen or anything like that. Like he's like, this is what I believe.
Yeah.
And like it's up to you on how you want to deal with what I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting. I know some of the best agents, they just stay out of it, and it's like, there's no point, in dividing and here's the thing is, I would hate to say the wrong thing and then I'm already under contract with some person that has the exact opposite idea or feeling. And it's crazy because like for me, grew up on welfare, didn't really have much, and maybe I should think a certain way, and so maybe people think that well, he's definitely this or he's definitely that,
Yeah.
And when people bring up politics at like listing appointments or buyer appointments, you've had one recently.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a few of them. I've talked about one on this, not this episode, but in a previous episode where I try to be moldable to like not like, obviously I don't want any friction.
Yeah.
But I'll be moldable and flexible to where it's like, I'll say something that probably makes them think that I agree with them, but I'm not actually saying anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had one guy that was like, well, I don't want to sell to some liberal, right? And I said, man, what's better than taking a liberal's money though? and so like that, like,
Yeah.
I said something, but didn't say anything.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I fed into whatever play he wants. And then, I've had people want to go down the full, I've had some wonky talks at listing appointments. I'm like, can we please get back to the subject of why I'm here?
Yeah.
But it's a polarizing thing. It's no wonder that people want to talk about it because people get passionate about it, especially closer to election time.
Yeah.
They're curious about you, and like it's almost like if I tell you this one thing about me and you share that thing, like we're connected, like we're bonded.
Yeah. I'm a Christian, and a lot of times people will connect. Like if you're religious, you're on one side or you're not on the other side, or you disagree with one thing or you agree with another thing. And it's just so funny when people will message me and like, well, you're against this and that. And I'm like,
You have no idea what I'm
I
about.
never said that. Like, what are you talking about? But I don't know. I agree with you when you said it's very important to stick to your beliefs.
Yeah.
And at the same time, though, you got to read the room, right? Like you're not going to be making jokes at a funeral. You know what I
Right.
mean? You got to make sure that you're.
I mean, what if the deceased was a comedian?
Yeah, that's
like it's
true.
maybe out of respect.
That's true.
You know.
That's true.
I have a, and you can say no. You can say no. Do you want to talk about maybe what your feelings are about November and what maybe how you do lean, or like what your political concerns are, or how it relates to the industry, anything like that?
I'm down. I'm down.
To kind of, I guess, set the tone, I'm of the opinion, and I heard someone say this, and I was connected with it so good. I want a blue-haired Democrat making my coffee,
Yeah.
and I want borderline QAnon Republican doing my taxes. So I'm socially democratic
Yeah.
and fiscally conservative,
Yeah.
I would say, which I want to say is libertarian.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I think of it. I'm very big on if it doesn't affect me, then why should I have a crazy opinion on it? I also think smaller government is typically a better thing, depending on the context. And yeah, that's how I feel about it. If something doesn't affect me, like I want my gay brother to have guns to defend his property. You know what I mean? Like I don't
weed.
care.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And be able to smoke weed. Yeah.
that's my opinion.
funny.
And rather people agree or disagree, like it doesn't affect me. So
Yeah. Well, you sort of put me on the spot.
let out every conspiracy theory you've ever had.
I know,
No, I'm
right?
just kidding.
Well, a few things. I'll tell you like what my needs are, right? My needs are, I have a toddler / baby, and we buy milk for him. And I hate spending $6 to $7 on a gallon of milk, right? Like when just a couple of years ago it was like $3 or $4,
Yeah.
right? And groceries are just so expensive now. It's insane. These are things that I have to worry about,
The thing I'm not a fan of, just as a quick sidebar about groceries and just life in general, like I did a living in Leander video for my YouTube channel and like what the cost of that is. And I went back and I looked and I go, man, I remember the same Chick-fil-A meal that I've eaten for 15 years used to be under $6.
Yeah.
And that same meal is now above 10, borderline like 12 bucks.
Yeah.
So the average person for a couple is spending maybe $24. That used to be like dine out money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that would be like a nice time out, like going to a sit down restaurant with tip and everything. And now when you have kids, it's even worse. And I hate when corporate, like I hate the excuse that, oh, well, that's us behind from COVID. Bro, we're so far past that. I feel like it's just more corporate gouging is what it is.
Yeah, possibly.
And so like I would love to see someone set some kind of boundary or like pursue that, like a correction of just the everyday living cost of being a middle American. But again, I apologize. I know I just completely took over your talk there.
It's okay. Also, I don't like the major extremes too. Like if you disagree with one thing, you're on the other side, right? And then if you disagree with another thing, you're on the other side. And then so now it's like, okay, I guess I'm in the middle, right? Like I can't, and I don't want to be pushed to one side. I just want to have my opinion,
Right.
And
And I think that's 90% of people. We just hear 10% of the very loud voices.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's because that's what's sexy and gets headlines. And because it's not sexy to be like, well, I just want everyone to win.
Yeah.
How do we all make it through this? That's not hot. What's hot is my opinion and my plan is the only one, and the other side's going to destroy America.
Yeah. Well, my thing is this is one, I like to have control over my own money and where my money's going. Right. And I have more faith in myself than I have in others controlling my money. Right. And so, for example, I don't want to bring things up, but I'm able to raise money for people that are in need and to be able to determine who's in need better than I feel like other people are. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to do that. Right. And I don't.
I want to talk about that later.
Okay.
I want to talk about a very awesome instance that you had of utilizing that Facebook group that not only provides leads for you and closings and results in amazing connections, but also John had a huge win this past weekend. And little things like this are not to get too emotional or like sentimental on here, but they're why like I'm so proud to be partnered with you. And I remember before I switched to join you at another brokerage, you know, when you stepped up and organized when the freeze happened, and you provide 840 meals for families that otherwise wouldn't have had a meal, which is amazing. You take action, which is fantastic, and you utilize these resources that you build, not just to line your pocketbook, which is great. We need that. But when the opportunity arises, you take action. And I love that too. So just as your business partner, as your friend, I'm just super proud of you for doing that. And tell everyone kind of what happened, like how you were able to utilize your Facebook group, which again is a very popular lead gen source for you. Yeah. And how you're able to leverage that to make a difference in someone's life.
Yeah. So, you know, somebody made a post on Facebook, and it's a past client of mine, good friend of Jordan. Back then he sent me the referral. He was an agent at the time, and we've stayed in contact for a long period of time. And she's just, you know, she's a single mom that works super hard. She never asks for anything. And it's clear to see that from the outside, you know, and she made a post that was very depressing, you know, and I had a feeling that there was more going on than that. And luckily when I reached out to her, she opened up, you know, and she let me know really how dark and sad she was for a situation. And and then I texted her and I said, "Hey, is there anything I can do? Can I send you food? Can we jump on a call? You know, because I've had several friends that have taken their life." And and you know, looking back, I would much rather have called them or sent them some money or help them out than them take their life, you know? Because if I, you know, I look back and like, I wish I would have called them. I wish I would have reached out to them. So now every time I see somebody that's in my circle or in my environment that needs help, I'm going to give them a hug. I'm going to try to figure out how, you know, I can help them. Anyways, so luckily she was, you know, open to talking, and she gave us the situation, and
just a lot of life.
Yeah.
A lot of life happening all at once. Some issues with like insurance through work. Yeah. And I mean, work is such a big part of it because it affects our money, which affects a lot of what we're able to do. Yeah. And how we can provide for, again, our families and single mom of four. Like, that's not easy.
Well, my thing is that there's a lot of people out there that proactively look for help almost as a career, right? It's like, how do I get by, or how do I get free things, right? And this was one of those instances where she wasn't asking for free things. She legitimately needed help, right? And that's one really hard thing to do, is discern where people are career, you know, needing help, and then people that have worked their butt off and need help. There's a big difference, right?
100%.
And so this person legitimately needed help. And so I'm a big let's share the story, and hopefully people latch onto that wave, you know? And so I screenshotted, you know, some of the things that she was going through, and kept her completely anonymous so nobody knew who it was. And you know, I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to start it off. I'm going to donate $100. And then what's cool is all these dads came in and were like, hey, I'm going to match you. Hey, I'm going to match you. Hey, I'm going to match you. And, you know, generosity is contagious. When people start saying, hey, this is an actual real need, then let's jump in on this opportunity, right? And it's just so cool, and it shows the heart of that group, you know, and when you lead with contribution, I know that I say that a lot, but when you lead with contribution, it's a lot easier to surround yourself with other people that are leading with contribution, right? And so it was really cool. You know, within hours, we raised, you you and I raised like close to $4,000, you know, something like that.
She got groceries. She
got
got some mold remediation.
Yeah.
That was a big, something that she couldn't tackle herself. Like, just absolutely incredible story of leveraging these tools. Again, like John's talked on here a lot about how the Facebook group is utilized for his business, but it goes beyond that. We've always said, like, if we can, and we say this in the mentor program too, is that if we can mentor or help people become just really great people, you'll be a great agent.
Yeah.
And that's just certain stuff that you can't teach. A lot of it you can't teach. So I'm just super, again, just really proud of you for stepping in. And
she made a video later and she was saying she was, on the brink of suicide, and I'm so glad we did that. Cause like, what if there was not her anymore? That would suck.
Yeah.
And so luckily, almost 40 dads were like stepped in and were like, we're going to help,
Yeah.
and they didn't even know who she was. And that was pretty awesome.
Warms your heart, gives you hope for humanity, where a lot of wins are few and far between. Yeah. And I think in our daily lives, like that made me feel really good.
Yeah. And those guys probably are annoyed with how many times I say, hey guys, lead with contribution. And what sucks is, and I knew it was going to happen, full transparency, as soon as we help one person, like 20 people are like, hey, I need help too, and it's like, dang it, that's not why I did that. But let's try to find ways to help, know? And I had, several meetings and several conversations, and I'm trying to help all these people, but it comes out of the woodworks, because now they know, oh, John wants to help a bunch of people. Yes, I do, within reason, and I still need time to, do my business. But that's my life right now.
That's awesome. Yeah. Just to cap off, I know that was a huge sidebar. I just want to make sure that we share it. It was just a huge win for humanity, for good people coming together and rallying around someone who needed the help. Last note about the political thing.
We can still talk about that.
How do you think this affects the housing market? How do you think this affects buyer confidence? Little things like that. Because I noticed one of the things I wanted to see was how's the market going to react to Joe Biden stepping down? And for the most part, green across the board.
I wonder what that's saying though.
Yeah, it's two things, and you and I talked about this. It's either one thing is people were so worried about Biden still maintaining the reins, and now that's gone, and so whatever the alternative is going to be is better, or this is a done deal. Like, the ballots are in. Like, we know that Trump's going to be president.
Yeah.
And the markets are responding to either one, whichever one is true. And I don't know which is which in people's minds, because there's lots of opinions that go into this. But I do feel like after the debate was like the writing on the wall. Yeah. And I was like, holy, like, I saw videos from him back in 2012 to the debate, and it was like two completely different people. Like,
yeah.
Regardless of how you feel about him, like, it's not fun to see anyone go down that path of like neuro degradation. But when you're talking about like your commander in chief, you need someone strong, someone confident.
Whoever's flying the plane, I want to make sure that they're able to fly the plane.
Right.
Whether it be Trump or Biden, whoever becomes president, I want to believe in them and make sure that they do the best job that they can, because if they can't find the plane, guess where we're going?
Yeah, but as far as the stock market goes, like, we looked at it right before we hopped on here. I mean, look at this.
It's all green.
Everything's green except for one thing, which is Apple. Apple, you got enough money. You don't need it.
I know, right? $1 trillion.
But yeah, company. Dow Jones is up. NASDAQ is up. S&P 500 is up. Everyone's responding really positively today. And normally in a market where bad news comes through, the markets reflect that equally. So this is I think consumers and buyer confidence saying we're feeling bullish on the direction we're going, whatever direction it is.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. I'm excited no matter what happens. I'm excited. I know that there's going to be opportunity no matter what happens. And, people are very strong in their emotions and their beliefs. And I just challenge you guys to separate, the person from what the media tells you the person should be like, right? Because, I hope, we're talking to a lot of people right now, and I hope you understand that the media always usually has some type of narrative, right? And some type of, whether it's Fox or CNN, both.
It's just division.
Yeah,
That's all
it's a lot of division and not unity. And I'm really just trying to, I'm just trying to go with the unity as much as possible. And it's hard. It's hard when both sides are telling you things, right?
Well, it's funny because whenever you, again, kind of going back to not letting it affect how your interactions with other people are, things like that. When I sit down and I meet somebody, I don't feel one type of a way or another about their favorite color being different than mine.
Yeah.
I don't feel any different about their musical taste being different than mine. Like it's either I like this person or I don't. And I think politics needs to fall under that same kind of category where, oh, this is just what this person prefers. Like preferences are this person's thing. It doesn't have to align with mine for me to really like this person.
Yeah.
And treat each other just with respect and know that we're all in the same boat together. No matter what direction the boat's going, we are all in it, man.
Yeah. And then it comes to like what is going to be best for my son, like he's going to be, I would hate to go to war, like I do not want to go to war in 15 years from now. Where are we going to be at when my son,
if we make it 15 years,
yeah,
if we go to war and you know what I mean?
Yeah. So whatever is best for him, I want to pick, I want to support. But at the same time, do I like anything and everything about whoever I want to vote for? Probably not.
Yeah. It's very rare that I find someone where I'm like, oh, I'm 100% in.
Yeah.
There's usually at least a handful of things that I take issue with, which is fine. Like, I'm not going to be able to get a perfect candidate that aligns with me 100%.
That's the crazy part. I wish we could change that somehow. Like a lot of people say the best of the worst or whatever,
I had a weird proposition for tax. I wish whatever your tax was, I wish you could dictate what the tax went to so that you felt like your dollars were going to something that you supported. So for example, if you're very anti-military, like, do you want to put your taxes towards like medical research or some after school programs or whatever it is that tax money can fund? Or if you're like, hey, like I want to make sure that we have a strong military defense, I want my tax money to go to. But what I don't like is whenever it's like, okay, you're paying all this tax and we're just going to spend it however we see fit, whether you agree with it or not.
Yeah.
So idealistically, it'd be like, man, I wish I could dictate where this money's going to, and you almost feel like you have representation in that matter, or in that route. But
well,
that's a big dream.
They went to war over like a 2% tax
on tea. And now look at us,
it's like
pathetic. The founding fathers are rolling in their graves at us right now. They're like, you cowards.
Yeah. We haven't really talked about real estate.
Okay, promise. Now we're going to talk about real estate. We're going to go over a few scenarios. But hey, you know what, man? Like, I like that we can talk. Like, first of all, this is our podcast. We can talk about whatever we want.
What's crazy is I feel like I wish most people were like you and I, because like we disagree a lot. You and I disagree a lot.
Yeah, and our strengths are different too. Like, just a lot of stuff is different, but like we come together for common goals, for common good. Like, at the end of the day, like, we're two human beings that love doing good stuff, and it doesn't matter what like the personal beliefs are between there. It doesn't make me feel any differently about you, and I hope it doesn't about me.
Not at all.
So
never.
So yeah, but now we're gonna get into some real estate stuff. So hopefully you guys are still listening.
There's like no listeners.
I know everyone's tuned out, like everyone's gone. Writing up some mean commentary online.
Right.
One of the scenarios that we're going to explore is, what do you do when you have a buyer who says that they're wide open, meaning they're not necessarily, maybe they're not familiar with the area and they're moving to a place like Austin, Texas, where there's a lot of variety here. I mean, do you want to be, more rural? Do you want to be more in the developments? Like, what's important to you? How do you handle those kind of conversations? How do you help someone uncover what they want?
Yeah, well, that's happened to me a ton of times. As you know, within the last few years, a ton of people have moved here and they don't know anything about the area, And so I will always either do an in-person meetup or a Zoom if they're somewhere else, right? And then always having, I have several questions, and one of those would be, how far is it from your job, right? Because obviously, or how far are you willing to go from your job, right? Because obviously, if they're not willing to drive more than 15 minutes,
that's something you can't change.
That's something you can't change, right? And then two, like, what are you into? Do you want to be in the mix or do you want to be away from the mix, right? Do you like shopping? Do you like restaurants, or would you rather stay, 30, 45 minutes away? And then once we can pretty much go down the criteria based off of your budget as well. And then sometimes you have to sort of meet in the middle and be like, hey, you want all of this, but unfortunately your budget is this, then we're going to have to make some compromises, right? If you want a ton of restaurants and, to live in the nightlife, but you can't afford 700,000, then we're going to have to move a little bit farther out, like maybe a little farther than the Domain, or, maybe Liberty Hill, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so basically start off with job. How far are you willing to go from your job? And then what are you into? What age range do you want to stay around? Like, if you're an older person, do you want to live in a 55 plus community? Okay, awesome. I can give you some options,
It's a great suggestion to start with the workplace, because if your MLS, you listeners out there, is like ours, you can do a radius search.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to drive more than 20 minutes to work every morning. Okay, well, I know that roughly, maybe a 5 to 10 mile radius, depending on is it highway, is it back roads, but in general, we'll do like a 5 mile radius of that work, and then we can expand from there if they're unhappy with the results.
Yeah.
And then depending on how far that radius is, then you're starting to really get into some interesting territory, because then it becomes, okay, well, I think of it this way. Let's say that they're like, North Austin is so diverse, where you have like Lago Vista, where that's a little more on the rural side, where there's bigger lots. It's very hilly, but it doesn't have a lot of infrastructure. They don't have an HEB.
Yeah, and if you want to go to
store.
downtown Austin, it's 45 minutes to an hour, especially like if you're leaving at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. So, are you okay with driving half an hour to go to the grocery store every week, every other week?
Yeah.
Some people are, and it's good that you know that, so you can better advise that client.
Yeah. One thing I noticed is that a lot of people that have moved from California, they're used to driving, because they want to get to a certain spot, a cool spot or whatever. They're like Leander to Austin, which is like a 30-minute drive, is nothing to them to drive every day.
Yeah.
When it comes to me, I come from a small town, right? So driving 30 minutes is like driving.
Oh, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
So John and I grew up in Victoria, Texas, and you could drive, I'm not kidding you, like 15 minutes, you were through town.
Yeah.
Like you were on the other side of
yeah.
town. So there wasn't a whole lot there. So you're right. The perspective of where are they coming from? Did you like your situation that you were in, where you're coming from? Do you want more of that? Do you want something that's slower paced? Do you want to be, the best thing is, are you in the mix or out of the mix? Like, do you want some privacy? Do you want less traffic? Do you want, which is becoming increasingly harder to find around Austin. There's obviously pockets that are not as packed, but even Leander has changed so much over the last, since we bought in 2018.
So the main three questions are proximity to job, right? What are you interested in, right? And then budget, because budget, obviously, if you're not pre-approved, then we're going to have to get you pre-approved. And then once we get you pre-approved, then that's really going to narrow down where you can stay.
And maybe a fourth one. What are your non-negotiables? Like, what do you have to make this make sense for you?
I don't want to live in an HOA.
Well, there goes 3/4 of your options.
Yep.
Thanks for narrowing it down.
Here in Austin, yeah.
You sounded like you were pretty open, and now without the HOA, we're finding out otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately that's our job, is to narrow down really what they want within the location that they want. And then, and then we have to anchor their must-haves, and when we find out the results of where they need to be, we need to anchor in why they need to be there.
And that's why being the local expert matters so much, is the sooner that you can bridge the gap between their unfamiliarity with an area and then your suggestions that make it known whether that's going to be a good landing spot for them or not. It makes you look really good. It helps you be able to confidently guide this person so that there's not buyer's regret.
Yeah.
Because in a scenario like the person that inspired this question, these are out-of-state clients, and it happens all the time. People move into a whole different area, and they are relying so heavily on you as that local expert and that local voice with the insights to guide them into something that fits what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And
the thing is like, yes, we have the MLS, but the MLS is really a tool, right? Like, we've got to figure out what they need, what their wants are, and what are the must-haves, and then we input those into the MLS in order to create an auto search, so that now every single day, I have a client that thinks that I'm sending them a property every single day, a list of properties every single day. And if you don't know how to put a auto search together, you definitely need to figure it out, because it's super helpful.
yeah. I love when people are like, hey, that property you sent me this morning. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's a beauty, isn't it?
Which one? Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one. A possible lead comes through, but they say they don't want to work with an agent.
Okay, no problem. Why don't you want to work with an agent? Oh, well, we don't want to pay you. Okay. And then I'd educate them on why it's important to work with an agent.
Yeah, and what's funny is in the scenario that inspired this question, we have a partner who received a lead, and they thought that they were talking to the listing agent. And so they wanted the listing agent to open the door. Well, you're talking to the agent that would be representing you.
Yeah.
And we don't work for free, especially we're under 30 days from the NAR settlement changes taking place. You're going to have to get comfortable with that conversation. Yeah. And I was really proud of this agent because she stuck to her guns and was like, I'm not going to work with you or like for you until we have a discussion about me being your agent.
Yeah.
And they actually passed on her and went to the listing agent directly. Listing agent couldn't open the door, and they offered to pay this agent to go open one door. And they used that time to build rapport, which is great. Like,
the agent used that time to build rapport.
Correct. And then was able to, she got paid to open the door. The person still didn't want to use her as the agent. They were like, oh, I was licensed in another state. I don't need an agent, blah, blah, blah. The listing agent wouldn't even talk to that client because they were like, you're not serious. And so finally tucked his tail between his legs and was like, yeah, I need an agent. So I think it's a balance between knowing your value, what you bring to the table.
Because you are Timberly.
It is.
Shout out Timberly, Rockstar agent. She just joined our team.
Yeah, we're stoked to have her on, and we're talking over this scenario. It's so funny, like the different things that you run into in real estate, and like what you never know, like what other agents are going through, which is so funny.
Yeah.
And this guy didn't want to hire her, like because he thought he knew it all. He was licensed in another state. Well, Texas is different. If there's anything that I've realized from referring business to other states, is that other states do things differently. There's different local laws. There's different state laws. All sorts, like procedures are different. Yeah. There's like, for example, there's not an option period in, like, they call it something different, or it's structured differently in other states.
Due diligence period.
So you've got to even though you're licensed somewhere, doesn't mean you know everything. Yeah. I don't know how Michigan real estate is done, and I don't claim to. So I think what happened is
municipal utility districts in Texas are something that, those are outs that you can get out of a contract that it might be different in some states.
And that little bit of education can really help sway someone who's like, oh, no, I don't want to work with an agent. We hear it with for sale by owners all the time. Yeah. The only reason that for sale by owners are doing it that way is they're trying to avoid paying commissions. Yeah. And most of the time it's because they don't know what an agent brings to the table.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing where whether it's a lead or you're talking to a FSBO or whatever, you are there to provide service and expertise
Yeah.
and help guide your client towards their objective. And I think the better and more clearly that you can articulate that and come from a place of servitude instead of commission breath, you have a higher likelihood of converting that person into a client, which is exactly what Temperley did. So
Yeah.
kudos.
Yeah. I mean, the better you are at communicating and educating and from a place of servitude, the better that more likelihood that you're going to close a deal.
So much of real estate ultimately comes down to what kind of communicator are you?
Yeah.
What kind of messages are you communicating to your audience, whether it be on social media or
What frequency you're communicating.
Yep. How frequently you're getting in front of your audience, what the messaging is. Do you have call to action? How do you educate your clients? How do you make sure that they feel comfortable with you? So much. This job is communication.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's not it, but you get what I'm saying.
Sounds fancier than it actually is, but I'm working on a book and I think it's chapter 2. I'm talking about the importance of attention and getting attention and not being a secret agent, right? And with that attention is how you communicate to your audience, as well as when those leads come in, how you communicate to those leads, So it is, like you said, a lot of this job is how you communicate and what frequency you communicate.
Well, that's why social media and the way that people are able to obtain clients on social media is because of the way that they're communicating resonates with whoever saw it. And they go, oh man, I feel like I know this. Like, I feel like we would jive really well.
Yeah.
And I feel like this person, one, is competent. I feel like we mesh. And this huge, there's people who make a killing, like Suman, for example, is on YouTube. That's his social media of choice. Has done $180 million in his first 3 years as a realtor from effective communication, showing his competency, consistency, and
even communicating your brand, right? Like how you communicate what you look like and how you talk, communication from all aspects is so important.
yeah, I've talked about it so many times. I started doing a little bit of YouTube during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was a huge missed opportunity because I go back and look at those videos and the way I showed up for that was not good. I had my long hair down to here. I look like this.
I was trying to be polite and tell you.
Yeah.
I kept calling you a hippie.
It was.
What I call you? I called you a yoga instructor.
Well, and it's also like I would take that real defensive approach of like, well, if you don't like the way I look, I don't want to work with you anyway.
Yeah.
People expect a certain level
that
of
makes sense.
Like people want a certain level of professionalism.
Yeah.
And like I asked Suman, I noticed that he has relaxed a bit on how he dresses.
I've noticed that.
But it's also because he has the results that allow him to be that way.
That makes sense.
He recalled showing up in these 110-degree Texas days in a suit, like to present himself in his best light.
Yeah.
He took it that serious about what he communicates to his audience through every aspect of his branding, of how he shows up. And I think there's a big lesson in that.
So basically what you're saying is at the very beginning, you need to present yourself in a certain way in order, if you don't have credibility already, right?
Yeah, it can help supplement for something you're lacking.
Yes. And then once you have those results, you can sort of ease back a little bit because you already have that credibility and you already have that results. So when people talk to you, you already have confidence in what you know. And you already know that if they don't work with you, then somebody else will.
Well, there's a big difference between talking to a guy that's in shorts, flip-flops, and a tank top who's a millionaire and the same guy who just got his license.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. And one of them, like you can very confidently overcome, well, I've done 200 transactions in the last 3 years. You know what I mean?
I know
like,
what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Like I don't have to necessarily woo you with the suit to let you know that I'm your guy.
I saw this crazy stat that, selling Sunset, these agents really aren't selling that much houses. Like it's like less than 3 million each agent.
Really?
Yeah. And that's pretty much one luxury house in California.
Netflix. Hey,
I know. Come on.
Link in the bio, baby.
right? Yeah,
That's
per
crazy.
year. The only person that is selling a lot is the broker, the Oppenheim guys. Those
Are they are those the guys that are with the agency? Is that them? Or is that a different show? There's so many freaking real estate shows on.
Well, the Selling Sunset is not even a real estate show. It's more drama and them.
Dude, my mom was like, "Oh, you got to watch it. Like, you're in real estate, you should watch it." I turned it on, I watched 5 minutes. I was like, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
Like this is it's the Kardashians with a side of real estate.
Yeah, and they really only sell like one house per year. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and so for us, like where we're selling 20 houses or whatever. I mean, I've sold whatever, selling a lot of houses, and it's way more. Here's the thing though, one house is like 2-3 mil, right? And so 30 houses here is like 6-7 mil.
I've always taken the stance that I look at units sold over volume. If you're going to tell me that because you sold a house that equals 5 or 10 of the like lower level houses, that you're either quote unquote better or more qualified, I don't buy it. The experience that comes with volume is because you have experienced. Units sold. The experience that comes with that, because you're facing all kinds of different scenarios versus putting all your eggs in one basket and that being your experience. Yeah. Imagine going and being like, yeah, I sold 10 million last year and it's one house. It's ridiculous.
Like, it's nice. Like, yeah, you made a big paycheck, but you've only had one experience.
Versus someone who sold $25,000 houses has 20 times the experience you do.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of units sold as far as like production or going by someone's competency within a field and stuff like that. If you can do both and have
a 10 million and 20,
then now we're talking. How do you determine if a buyer is serious or not? And how much time do you allow yourself to be invested in a non-serious lead?
Ooh. A lot of agents make this mistake, especially when they get into real estate, is over-committing to a lead that is not as serious as you think they are, right? And so for me, I'll have the initial phone call, maybe an in-person or Zoom consultation or listing appointment, and then I'll base their seriousness off of their communication frequency, right? So if they're only reaching out to me, once a month, I don't really think that they're serious, right? Or if they're asking questions, then I don't. Now, here's the tricky part, is that you can sort of motivate them a little bit with like, hey, I need pictures done. Are you doing this, this, and that, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's a little bit of a way to motivate them. But besides like little strategies to motivate them, like really, if they don't have to sell their house or they don't have to buy a house, like you're really just waiting on their circumstances to be in a certain position to where they're either extremely motivated or they have to.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why I always preach to lead generate as much as possible, because now when someone isn't as motivated, then you have other people that are motivated. And so your cup of motivated buyers and sellers is always full. And so when someone says, when it's a lead and they're not as motivated, then you still have a cup to drink from.
Yeah. And you got to have more than one thing that you can put your attention towards, because otherwise, if that one thing is all you have, you kind of like live and die by that thing.
Yes.
Where you're sitting there like, man, I have to get this one thing closed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm in a pickle.
Yeah.
And so I tell people, talk to another teammate today, and she's got 2 good buyer activity things going on right now, like 2 new buyers. I'm like, I'm so excited for you. Like, that's amazing. Also, don't ease up on your lead gen. Mm-hmm. Don't get so hyped up about your 2 things that you make those all that you focus on for the next 2 weeks.
Now, here's the thing. This might be your first 2 or 3 years, right? Maybe year 3, year 4, all you're working is referrals and you don't have to do as much lead gen, right? Maybe year 5, all you're doing is referrals and people are just bringing them in, right?
Past clients, people that you sold the house to, now they're moving.
Yeah.
They're upgrading, they're downgrading. They had kids, now the kids are in college.
Yeah.
All kinds of different scenarios.
Which is a really nice place to be. However, year 1, year 2, year 3, maybe year 4, you got to be lead generating like crazy, you know? I mean, and if you want to hit certain production marks or certain,
like milestones, then year 5, year 6, when you're still getting referrals, you need to still be lead generating, you know, so that you can increase those milestones. Yeah, totally agree. I try not to, I had never heard it put that way, that their communication frequency that's such a good way to track how serious someone is. I always look at like where in the process are they and how open and quick do they act on the things that I need them to do. So for example, I get a buyer lead. I don't know if we hop on a call. How long did it take me to get them on a phone call? Am I like prying to get them? Like right now I have one lead who I got introduced to. I haven't heard from him in 3 weeks, even though I've been following up. Cool. You are now in my CRM and you're going to get advertised to on a drip campaign.
And that's the beauty of CRMs, right? Yeah. Is like you can put them to the CRM. And if they're not as motivated right now, they're still getting stuff from you.
I've got something in the background automatically that's not taking any bandwidth from me to keep up with them.
Yeah. And to be honest, that's something I need to be doing better, is like, because I do get a lot of non-motivated leads and I don't put them in my CRM, and that's my bad. You know, I pretty much only put my motivated leads in my CRM.
Yeah.
So
then it becomes like, okay, let's say we do talk, and now I need them to take the grown-up step of getting pre-approved. I need you to show me that you're willing to do what it takes to figure out what you can afford. And if that's a big one. If you're not willing to do that, we've got nothing to talk about.
Well, one of the best ways to sort of push them in that direction of, hey, get pre-approved, is sending a 3-way text with the lender, so that now they sort of like have to, you know,
or offer on the call. Hey, are you free for 15? Like, do you have another 15 minutes? Let me get the lender on the phone right now. And now, same way when you ask at an open house if they have a realtor, you're going to watch them either squirm around to try to get out of this, or they're going to go, great, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so that's a great way to tell very quickly if someone's motivated or not.
100%.
As far as time that I will allow myself to waste, I mean, honestly, it's client dependent. What's my relationship with this person? Especially if it's people I don't know, it's super quick to go into the CRM because ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah. We're out here trying to get deals done and help. I want to give my bandwidth to people who are ready to go.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, like I said, you're still going to get advertised by me, by my CRM. You're still going to get touches and see how things are moving along. And when you are ready, then we'll move forward. So that's that one. Because I don't want to just really quickly dump somebody. Like those people, sometimes they just need a little extra time, or like I caught them on an off day. So like I want to give it. I would say I don't ditch people unless it's like 3 weeks of no communication.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, clearly like you're not interested in talking to me right now.
Yeah.
CRM. Sellers who want to list their home above market value. Man, have I had a few of these recently. How do you handle that?
Okay. So I'll get a CMA and I'll have pictures of the comparables that have sold. And then I'll say, let's compare your house with that house, and it sold for XYZ, and you want to sell yours for XYB.
XYZ plus 10,
plus
15, 20,000.
Yeah. So if you don't mind me asking, why do you think it's going to sell for that? Right. And sometimes you have to ask those hard questions, right?
And have like an awkward silence where you're forcing them to really contemplate what their justification is.
Exactly. Well, I don't know the circumstance on why that one sold for so low. Okay. Well,
they're just in a hurry and they're tanking our values.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Sounds like you and I have the same client.
I've even had family members do this, right? And it's funny because they're like, "Oh, we're so proud of you," Well,
Well, I wish you'd listen to me if you were so proud of me.
you know. And here's the thing, you know, I'd love to be proven wrong. I tell them that too. I say, hey, I'd love to be proven wrong. Like if it sells for that amount, then you are right.
Yeah.
But based off of the experience and based off the comps and based off the pictures and based off the upgrades and what they've remodeled and what they've sold for, this is the number, right? Now, here's the thing. The longer it stays on the market, the less likely you're going to get that number, the original number that I gave you.
Yeah.
Right. And so would you rather have, 30,000 less than this number, or would you rather go on the market and wait and wait and wait and then never sell the house? Right.
Yeah. And then you're frustrated at me.
Yeah, and that's what I say. I don't want you to be mad though. Like, please, if we go at this number, we can test it out, but we need a plan in order to drop the price, right? Because I don't even want to move forward if we don't have a plan. And then two, don't be mad at me when it doesn't sell, right? I'm going to do every single thing possible. Trust me, I want to sell your house. I don't get paid unless your house does sell, right? But if it doesn't sell, then that's the market telling us that it's overpriced.
Yeah. It's a good play to blame market. And I'm also very just black and white facts. I try not to be like emotionally charged about anything that I'm saying. I'm not overly opinionated. It's just, hey, like you said, let's pull up comps. Let's see what other houses in your area that are similar square footage, similar bedroom bathroom combination, similar finishes are selling for. And then you tell me based on what we saw where I'm wrong.
Yeah.
If they want to list over.
I've only been proven wrong once, and this is out of hundreds and hundreds of houses I've sold. And that one hurt. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. little ego shot to the ego. Yeah. You're like, you know
and
what?
Actually, I tried to refer that one out to you. I think it was in Lakeway. I don't know if you remember. Yeah, they were asking like 50,000 more, and I was like, I'm sorry, I don't want to. I told them, I was like, I don't want to list it that high. And,
I do know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
And they ended up selling for that much. I was so surprised.
Yeah.
It must have been some type of
just perfect scenario,
one-off situation.
You and I both looked at that and we were like, nah, this is he's crazy. Yeah. I know that there's some of it's your strategy as well. There are agents who are perfectly happy taking a listing that they know is going to sit for a long time, posting it for sale and saying, you know what, having my sign out in front of someone's yard is good enough for me.
Yep.
Which, sure, like that's certainly a play. I don't know that I would make that my play, but yeah, I mean, I went to a listing presentation in Dripping Springs last weekend, and I would have earned the shot at it. They were going to be a little on the top end. However, they had one of the nicest of this floor plan in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So I was like, look, I think we're at this range. You want to list 25K above what I'm thinking. You clearly know what the cost of these upgrades that you've done are. And if you're confident in that, then I love a challenge. I don't mind going to that. But I said, if we don't sell or if we don't get any interest in 2 weeks, would you be willing to try it at my suggested price? And I said, yes. Only reason it didn't work out, that same day, the home that they wanted, that they would have made the contingency offer on, went under contract. And so we didn't get that one. And that one would have been nice.
I've been there.
But I think just having really like planning with great communication and having no surprises. If we don't sell here, clearly, I say the same thing. The market is speaking to us that it doesn't support your home at this price. And if the market's speaking, we have to act in order to get it sold. Mm-hmm. So what's our plan to drop the price to get it into the range that it should be?
100%. Yeah, it's over an hour.
Hey, we've been gone for a while.
That's true.
Do you want to go through these last two, or
let's save them for the next episode?
Okay, we'll do that. Well, sick. That was a very fast hour.
I know, right?
I feel like
we're always worried that we don't have enough to talk about, and then every single time it ends up being 50 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. We just want to make sure that, what we're talking about is relevant. I like that we introduced talking a little bit about personal stuff and again, something that's real estate, but also plays into real estate. Like we have a really big November coming up, and whether no matter which way it goes, the ripple effect will be felt in our industry.
Yeah, and it's funny because I have like a army green shirt, and I totally look like I'm on one side. So you guys are totally going to assume a certain way. But
Well, John,
I'm going to let you guess.
Let's send them out. Where can people find you on Instagram?
At John Michael Perez for all your political needs. I'm just kidding.
Guys, I am at Jordan Sells ATX. We'd love to connect with you here. Maybe you have some feedback on topics that you want to hear discussed here on the podcast. Maybe if you're interested in hearing more about what we have going on over at the Wolfpack with our team. We're nationwide, actually like worldwide. And so we're happy to talk to you about that. We just want to celebrate your wins with you as well. So if you're in the real estate industry, feel free to come hang, connect with us, send us a message.
Follow us on Instagram.
Hey, we follow back in most cases. But thank you guys so much for listening. Definitely a little bit of a different episode today. I loved it personally. And hopefully we'll catch you in the next one. Go be great in your local markets, guys.